But what we're going to do is take a high risk. The refreshments are downstairs in the place where you had lunch. What we've got is a set of tables with, I think, 6 or 8 chairs round them. We would like to invite you to go downstairs and just make your way to any table. Okay, any table. We'd like you to fill up that table with as many different people as possible. So if you suddenly find you're all MIT students, you've got it wrong. So dare to mix it, spread it. What we're then going to do, you're not going to have a facilitator. I'm empowering you to empower yourselves. You're just going to meet with 6 or 7 interesting people. I'd like you to introduce yourselves to each other so you know who you are. Then I'd like you to have a conversation just about what's gone on today. But more importantly, our theme is bits and bricks, so it's about future cities. And what I'd like is to draw from you, the participants, 2 things, which we're just going to very briefly feedback in a high energy feedback session, the like of which you've never seen in your life. First of all, I'd like you to come back as a group with just one innovation. Okay, it's either an idea or it's something that's actually happening out there that is materially or will materially contribute to better future cities enabled by imaginative use of digital technology. Okay, so it may be something we've heard, something someone's dreaming about. It could be anywhere around. But I'd like to know whether there are some really interesting innovations out there which we've maybe not heard about so far. So 1, you may come up with 30. I just want 1 to feed back. The second thing is I'd like a message. Okay, we are somehow fumbling towards better future cities, something about citizens, somehow about using the power of information. I'd like a message. What might be a clarion call coming out from this conference center to those who are engaged in trying to create that future? What would that message be? We're using a low-tech. Downstairs, there will be a sheet of A4 paper. And from whatever discussion you have, I think you've got a pen down there. I'd like somebody just to write what that innovation, that idea or that thing that's happening, which, wow, if scaled up, if taken across, is a game changer, okay? And then what your message is, okay? And then someone bring that back, and we're just going to feed back a few of those and see just what the extraordinary creative capacity in this room, he says, with as much energy as he can muster on a Friday afternoon, looking at a set of faces that are ready for it. I'm going to go down. We may be in 2 rooms, because that's the nature of life, but that makes it even more exciting. Alice, you're going to... 1 room. 1 room, so we're going to do a sardine session. Okay. Avoid trying to move chairs, because you'll end up with a group of 23 and that doesn't work. And the other thing about self-empowerment is the refreshments available. I'd like you to start and find your table and get going, and then make a decision as to when you're going to have the refreshments, so you don't all queue up. And someone may like to take enabling facilitation control, but I leave that to you. We are going to be back in this room at 4:10 with the best creative innovation and message. So, are you up for it? Can I just check? Yeah. Wow! Okay. I'll see. Sorry? Will there be chocolate? There will be chocolate, and there will be champagne to the best innovation. Erin? Okay. And make sure those are nice mixed groups. Just dare to spread yourselves around. That would be brilliant. So, thank you very much. Thank you for finding your way back here. Really just for the final session. I've got a wonderful lineup from the GAC, from the Global Agenda Council, who are all passionate about City Futures Agenda. So some of them we've seen already, Gretchen and Jens we've seen, but hello to Alice Charles, a lead on urban development and GAC Future of Cities Manager, so based with the World Economic Forum. And also I've got Juan Jose Pocatera, who's co-founder of, is it Vicua? Vicua. Okay, which I think is about kind of transport solutions in Latin America, is it? Yeah. Okay, well it is now, so that's fine. But so these are people who are at a strategic level are really just trying to make sense of some of the noises, the messages about city futures, and particularly relating that to the BITS agenda, so innovation, digital technology. I just thought it would be nice to have a sounding board panel. So what I want to do very quickly is just go where the energy is in the room to hear just whether there's some of the innovations that your table group discussed and just want to throw into this space. We've heard lots of ideas through the whole of today, things that are happening, but you never know, at this late hour on a Friday afternoon, there might be something with purpose, imagination, value that could be the beginning of a whole new future. There's a lot of cities and a lot of opportunity. So I'm going to take the innovations first, and then I'm going to do the final key messages, and I'll see how this goes. So I need very active microphone people. So I'll go where the most energy is in the room. So an innovation you discussed that you think you'd like to share in this space, in the front here. So you'll need a segue. That's it. Yeah, that's right. You get prizes for the first. So just start us with that innovation idea.
I'm going to kick it off. You guys ready to have your mind blown? All right. So we had a group. We had an environmental person. We had a lawyer. That's me. We had a couple of computer scientists, algorithm experts, some people from the mobility industry, automotive industry. And we all agreed that the number one problem facing us is climate change. We know that without a doubt, I don't care what your political preferences are, but without a doubt, climate change will impact the urban environment of almost every coastal city in the world. And at the local level and at the global level, we need initiatives to make sure that we are starting to turn back the clock on climate change and doing what we can do to protect our environments and to protect our future from the massive flooding that is certain to occur.
Okay.
So we talked about...
You've got about another 30 seconds
30 seconds.
max.
So what we want to do is we want to implement a system, a data collection system that essentially follows you and allows analytics for you to calculate your carbon footprint on a per person basis. We want to make every single person a stakeholder. We want to make businesses stakeholders, because the only way to reverse climate change is to make people responsible for what they're doing. So like a fitness tracker, we want a impact tracker. We want a footprint tracker. We want to know what bags you're using from Whole Foods. Are you paper or are you plastic? Are you driving a V8 or a V4 or something like that? So that's our idea.
That's perfect. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, interesting idea. Has anything got remarkably similar? Okay, have you got it written down? Because I don't want this to be a free-for-all. Okay, just use the microphone.
Yeah, so if we are going to track what people are doing, there will be privacy issues, and people might not go for it. People do not want where I am going, what bag I am using, and
hey, we don't want any bad news at this time of the afternoon. We realize all the limitations, but something which is sensitizing people about awareness of their carbon footprint and is also contributing to the issue of resilience in cities. I forget how many of them are close to water and rising Watsits. Just take a quick comment on that one.
So I agree with that. 15 of the 20 biggest megacities in the world are coastal cities. So and obviously are very vulnerable to climate change. So we absolutely have to address this issue. And I think one of the issues that we dealt with in the top 10 urban innovations was this very issue. And one of the innovations is to adopt a tree through a social network, which we'll talk about later, which is to try and get people to plant trees, to be interested in trees, and which have extreme knock-on effects in terms of bringing down the temperature, having absorption, and addressing climate change.
Okay.
So any innovations to address that are fantastic.
Okay, I'm going to get a few more ideas coming before we get some more comments. So I just want the innovation. I don't want your key message. I want the innovation. So there's one lady, and if you can keep it to about 20 seconds, we'll get away before the lights go out.
My group was incredible.
Of course.
And the concept is we were inspired by the modular couch, and how can we make buildings and technology modular so they are easily reusable, so we're not constantly building new things, but using what we already have to learn and move things around.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to take another one towards the front here. And then one over there. Yep. So, yep. I'm working you hard, but hey, you'll thank me for it.
Thank you. So our team was incredible as well, and we had a lot of great ideas. And one thing that we really seemed to come back to was rooftop space and what we do with it and what we do not do with it. We were thinking about using bees as a social model because it's another social organism that is well more advanced than we are, perhaps. They're also quite wealthy with extra honey and everybody working. So we have 3 E's for bees to remember. We've got expressiveness, efficiency, and environmental. So thinking of rooftops, not just for solar and growing food, but also as a model for these bees as computers.
Okay, hey, comment on that one? Gretchen.
So comment actually on both of the last two. So I love the concept of modularity that fits in really nicely with the concept of the circular economy, which is something the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has really worked really hard to promote. Noah, best bees. I've watched all your YouTube videos. They're absolutely fascinating. Learned a tremendous amount. And so, yes, I think anything that we can do to mimic nature and not forget about biomimicry as a philosophy is absolutely something that we should pay attention to.
Okay, I'll take another couple of innovations, preferably from a rubbish
I have
group.
a microphone, so I'm just going to stand up.
Okay,
Can everyone in my group raise their hand real quick?
brilliant.
So we took a little bit of a different approach than the first group. The problem we tried to address is affordable housing and the increased congestion of affordable housing. And we looked at it from 2 different angles. We looked at it from an economic policy side, and collecting data that way, but also how can you collect data on the properties in the current ecosystem. And so we tried to create an incentive program for people in those local communities to do good, whether that be use demand response incentives and reduce electricity in their homes, or teach other people English as another language. So to give them credits that would be reduced towards their taxes and to help them when they purchase their next home, which is often a large financial burden.
Okay, thank you. Yes, man with a microphone.
So another 3, equality, engagement, and empowerment as empowering communities to solve their own problems. Our proposed solution is an app where the city literally lists all the public works that they need to get done and a budget for it, and everybody can sign up to the team limit to solve that problem.
Okay.
And it's crowdsourced.
Participatory decision making.
So
Alice.
I'm just going to comment on both. Just the first thing, I think with affordable housing, there's a number of challenges that we have to address to be able to provide affordable housing. We need to drive down the cost of land. We need to drive down the cost of construction, and that's where smart technology can come in. And we need to find financial solutions to enable people to have access to credit to actually build houses. So I think that they need to be all part of the solution. And in relation to your solution, I think it's a really good idea. And actually, there is an academic in Columbia University who's piloting just that in Peru at the moment. The idea is to try and drive corruption out of the procurement process. And it's to make all of the information publicly available in relation to public works in Peru. So great idea. It addresses governance as well as everything else.
Okay, do you want to...
I just wanted to quickly compliment the idea said before, which coming from the developing world and working with emerging cities in Latin America, it definitely I think that the answers are through a change of paradigm. When we talk about housing and real estate, if we talk about accessibility and affordability, that is the right way to go, not ownership. People, at least from what I've seen in Latin America, will trade that any time of the day as long as they can access the housing and become part of the city's dynamics from an economic perspective.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to take a couple more gentlemen here.
I was also in a very amazing group, of course, and we had a very functional approach to mobility in an urban environment. As we had heard today, the railroad system is a little outdated, so the future of subway systems or transportation in an urban environment will be bus. So what did we do? We invented the mobile bus stop. The mobile bus stop can be adapted to local demand, to changes in the environment, to changes in the urban environment especially, but also to demographic changes in that environment. The mobile bus stop does not only work as a bus stop, it also includes sensors to measure data, collect any sort of data, to also filter the air by using charcoal materials that are used to construct a modular bus stop system. And on top of that, we can also generate power and use that power to build a off-grid system to provide electricity to local communities, especially in the developing countries.
And it also offers us love, peace, and
Of
a
course.
future to humanity.
That's the long-term
Very
goal.
much. A mobile bus stop, I like that. The only trouble is if you turn up and you think it's moved. But it's a slower process than that. Okay. Yeah.
Our group also did an environmental aspect, looking at using sensor technology to weigh recycling with the recycle bins, throwing that into the trucks, also geocoding it to know who's recycling, who's not, so we could encourage people to recycle, and then a message back to the community to get participatory interaction that they know what the impact is for their participating in recycling, how much they're saving, what the tax incentives are for the city as well, and how this can be illustrated
Great.
at an individual aspect.
Interesting. I'll take one more. I like that idea. Jeff, next door.
The bit innovation our group sees coming is digital identities, which will allow consumers and city planners to share personal data.
Just give me another sentence on that.
Well, the flip side of that is that we'll create the housing ecosystem you talked about, which is a suite of housing access options akin to what we're seeing in transportation today.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And I'll take one. There was one there, or a pair. Lovely. Okay.
So our team looked at the building scale. Really, we talked a lot today about the city as a whole, but and a lot about the public space. But when you get down to think about the buildings that we occupy, Christoph Reinhardt talked about how much energy these buildings are really using. And so our big idea was to come up with an operating system for a building itself that was able to respond to the needs of the occupants, a more flexible and adaptive environment that, as a counter product, would also be able to operate more efficiently at the city scale.
Okay, and one more there.
Afternoon, everybody. Our group talked about an innovation maybe in a different camp than many shared today. We talked more about a process innovation. So we heard a lot of people talking about financing and budgeting and how that could be very difficult. And so we were sharing some thoughts and experiences we'd had on PPP models and also social impact bonds, and really trying to find a model that would allow us to first pose like a bigger question or challenge to a community of stakeholders, the actual community that's kind of impacted and has the ownership to that public good. Then using a process of experimentation, maybe small awards to source some initial potentials, and then trying to find a different way to stage gate those projects and project potentials to make the funding a little easier to get off. Right. What we're still interested in hearing more about is how much risk is it right to kind of push off to the private sector versus the public sector as you develop those projects. So thank you.
Interesting. I'll just use the panel. Who wants to comment on something? Yeah, Alice first.
So just on PPPs, I think that's a very interesting point. We just published a report actually 2 weeks ago about the reforms that are necessary to accelerate the 100 Smart Cities program in India. And I guess from the research what we found is that to enable PPPs to happen, you need significant governance reform. And that's in the area of permitting, environmental permitting, planning permitting. It's in the area of dispute resolutions and so on and so forth. And the risk needs to be shared. And the unfortunate thing at the moment in the global south is that the areas that need most investment, such as water and sanitation, for example, are the areas that are least attractive to investors. And the investors say they have the money. So it's not a cash problem. It's just creating the framework so that you can share the risk and incentivize the investors to invest in the first place.
Okay, Juan, did you want to...
Quick comments on both on the PPP innovation and the bus stops. First, I definitely think that one of the areas we need to innovate a lot more, especially for the emerging world, is in the business models. It's not only about having the latest technologies and data gatherings and stuff. It's about how can we actually manage to get the current technology to be affordable and accessible to the rest of the world that doesn't have it yet. And then on regards to the bus stop, I would just say that it might be a cool idea. I don't know if it's a moving bus stop, but I do think that that's an area where we need to focus innovation and change transportation systems a little bit. I can tell you that, for example, we've been working throughout the last year for a new design where there are bus stops, but where the bus doesn't stop, actually. So let's see how that works in the near future.
Wow, okay. Were there any more innovations? One more, excellent. Then I'm just going to go straight through those final messages.
Hi, so our innovation...
How good was your group?
We were really, really awesome. So please raise your hands. So we named it a job swapping app, and by which we mean a platform where you can find someone who works a similar job to you, but
Right.
closer to your home, so that if you switch, or if you try to switch, this part is not thought of very well yet, then commute times will be cut for both of you.
Okay, so local support for what you need cuts down on need for transport and maybe strengthens the neighborhood with people who are having
exactly.
skills offered locally. Okay, so is there another innovation?
Actually, I think
There's a microphone coming.
I think it's what you're going to do to synthesize. So we had a great group, and we think the question was, how do we leverage technology to utilize everyone's capacities to innovate constructive opportunities?
Right.
And the answer is, use the hive as a metaphor for synergistic adaptive environments, incentivizing cooperation by enhancing collaboration through feedback loops.
Wow, you win the most 5-syllable words in a sentence, but very interesting. And again, the biomimicry with the hive, so some important message there. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm just going to hit those final messages, and then I'm going to just invite the four of you to just offer one response or a message of your own from what you're hearing. So those final messages, again, I'll go where the energy is in the room. Okay, start right at the back. Do you need to, that's it, that's lovely. Okay, so yeah,
Hey.
brilliant.
Me again.
So this was basically from all we've heard, from our challenge around bricks and bits, trying to make this whole innovation drive enable our cities of the future to be livable, sustainable, and workable. And our final messages from today are, number one.
As incredible as our group was, we could only get it down to 3. First, only humans have the power to help themselves, thus engagement is critical to future cities, and we should take modular approaches and include local experts. The second is the right to an education should be expanded to include the right to access to technology, because we believe that the current literacy gap will shift to a technological gap between those who have and those who have not. And the final one is taking modular approaches to buildings and tech will make them reusable so that we can continually create less waste.
Thank you very much. One behind, yep.
Yeah, so we only had 2. But
I'm hoping for 1, but that's fine.
The same as theirs.
Okay.
About engaging people. The other one is that the right to live in an awesome city by everyone should be acknowledged, meaning that when you think about innovation and technology, you should always think about how it will improve social inclusion.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, come right to the middle there, and then towards the front here.
So we have delivered one message. People should always be at the center of bits and bricks.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. And one at the front.
We have a message and artwork for a new category that we're defining. Our message is that technology can and should nurture citizen participation of many different kinds. And, you know, we submit our artwork for the next part of the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. It's almost, yeah, lovely, thank you. Okay, yeah, there's a gentleman there, and then...
Our group, you know, to echo Alice's points, there are so many issues, and so we didn't really come up with a message, so I'm just going to go with the world has to improve affordable housing to make the world great again.
Okay, thank you very much.
So our message actually had engagement there, which is a pretty ubiquitous theme, as well as equality and empowerment. And what we found the most difficult was actually getting the right people in the room to talk about these things, to solve these problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Are there any more? Yeah, there's a couple at the front here. Gentleman here, and then there.
Yeah, our message is that the conquest of climate change must be born out of our ownership of the issue, and that the people who will ultimately be responsible for overcoming climate change may not have been born yet, but they need to be imbued with a sense of responsibility both on a local and global level, so that they can develop systems so that if we can't even reverse it, we might take advantage of it, like seawalls with turbines or geothermal cooling and other types of technologies that could benefit the city from the rising tide.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Our takeaway is we need to rethink emerging trends in tech, in housing and real estate, and increase choices.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, were there any more? Okay, there's a set of very powerful messages there. Thank you very much. I'm just going to turn to two things. If you, one of the microphone people, if you've got your sheets, we'd quite like to get them in. So if you could just hold them up and a microphone person will come and take the sheets from you. If you feel you need to write it out a little more clearly, then you can do so. But that's fine. But there's just some important messages which I think we'd like to kind of pull together. I really want to just turn to our panel, because you're a set of people at a strategic level, kind of trying to make sense of some messages for the future. You've heard some voices late on a Friday afternoon. I just want to come to each of you, and I think I'll start at the far end if I could. Either just a reaction to what you've heard, or whether you feel your key message as we, with a strong emphasis on technology and innovation and moving forward, messages you'd like to leave, or a message you'd like to leave ringing in this room.
I think I would just like to compliment all the great messages that people have said by trying to ask you first to focus yourselves and your work on the emerging world and the emerging cities, which are going to be growing at a pace unimaginable for us at this point, and that are going to be suffering the tensions of this growth in the near future. And they definitely need strong-minded, creative people working towards them. And I think the answer right there to actually work with them is, how can we help people interact and connect a lot more on the city level, so that inequality and that gap of inequality in the world is reduced by making everyone be part of where the economy happens, which is in the cities.
Okay.
So if we can all get thinking around that, I think we're going to make the world a better place really soon.
Okay, Gretchen.
I think my final takeaway would be that sometimes these problems seem huge, insurmountable, and intractable, and so just not to forget that micro innovations and small innovations can really have an outsized impact if we just take it one by one.
Okay, and maybe Earth Day is that...
one tree at a time.
Absolutely, okay. Jens.
Yeah, so I would concur with those who say that this is a grave issue and it's linked to global warming, that the tides rising is not just... the only problem. There are many other issues we face, so we have to deal with it. And I think we need to, although this is about innovations today, we need to make sure that we don't use innovations as an excuse for action. So if only the next generation start acting on this, we're doomed. So we need to start implementing now. So we have the innovations, go out, buy them, and start implementing now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Finally, Alice.
Two comments. Just on the inclusivity piece, I think it's very important that from the very outset that innovation is people-centric and you design and build for all and embrace universal design. So for example, if you look at the Asian society in Japan, they're having to spend a lot of money on retrofitting their city so that it caters for elderly people. So from the very beginning, think of all. Second thing is, as we said in the top 10 urban innovations, the future should be one not of unsustainable expansion, but of tireless innovation to do more with less.
Thank you very much indeed. So thank you all, and I'm hoping you've all passed your bits. Anyone still got a sheet that they want to just hold it, or you want to write on that a little bit more? I'll leave it to you. Okay. But that's fine. But could I thank you for your active participation downstairs? I know it was a kind of crazy half hour, but hopefully there was some real value there and some important messages. And could I again thank our panel for your comments as well? Thank you. Do you want to...